Hey, y'all. On today's podcast, we celebrate our 10-year quit anniversary.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you as always this week, and I am super excited because we've got a special edition of the podcast, guys. We're not going to be doing Q&A today. We're not going to be talking to members of the Flipped Lifestyle community. We are going to be celebrating the 10-year quit anniversary. September 27th, 2013 is the day that we basically walked in, me and my wife, Jocelyn, and we quit. We put in our letter of resignations, and we have never looked back. We have been online, self-employed, location-independent entrepreneurs ever since, and we're going to celebrate that today. We're going to talk about the last 10 years, the journey, all the ups and downs and sideways movements and everything in between. But it's not just me today. If you're watching on YouTube, you've already figured this out. But if you're listening on the podcast, the one, the only, the OG, Jocelyn Sams is on the microphone in the house. My wife, Jocelyn, is here.
Hey, guys. It is great to be back with you. It has been a little while since I have been on the show. I've been on maybe a couple of times, I think, since 2020. So I'm really excited to be here today.
We've got lots of oldies, newies, goodies, all the good stuff that we're going to talk about today. But we love to start off these 10-year quit anniversary episodes with kind of going back in the time machine, going back into the past a little bit. And we're going to talk a little bit about our journey going from school teachers to become online entrepreneurs. We're going to talk about Flip Lifestyle, kind of the history of the company, like why it happened. And we're going to talk about the last 3 years. We've been on a roller coaster ride, wouldn't you say, Jocelyn, for the last 3 years?
Definitely. Yeah. It's been crazy, both professionally, personally. I got a haircut. If you guys are watching
old episodes, Jocelyn had long hair. If you're watching on YouTube, she's got the short hair rocking now. Now, it's not the bob. That's not called a bob, right? What is that called?
That's a bob.
Is that a bob?
Yeah.
What does a bob mean?
Bob just means it's just cut off.
Oh, okay.
Like you can have a long bob, you can have a short bob. I have an asymmetrical bob, so
She
it's
has
a little
an
longer in the
asymmetrical
front.
medium bob. That's what we're going with right now on the podcast.
So you learned something new today.
See, yeah, what you don't know is we're going to tell you in a minute that we're going to shut down everything and open a salon. That's what we're going for.
No, not really.
That's not really what's going to happen. But we do have a new thing we're going to tell you about here in just a little bit. But before we get started at the present and the future of our company, we'll talk about our past. So, for those of you who may not know, Jocelyn and I are former school teachers from Kentucky. About 11 years ago, around 2012, we had a really bad incident at work. My son, we found out, was being mistreated in a daycare center. And I really just needed the day off work to investigate the situation, but the day had already kind of started. And my boss was not really understanding. My boss told me that I needed to handle my personal problems after work. And it really rubbed me the wrong way. And it kind of like ripped a scab off almost of my life. And I was like, man, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live where someone has control over me. I don't want to live where someone tells me that my work is more important than my family. So I started thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. And how are you feeling about this at the time? Like, what was your feelings when I was going crazy and wanting to quit the job and all that stuff?
So, yeah, it wasn't like you were thinking about it. You came home and you're like, I'm not working for anybody else anymore. And I'm like, there's just one problem.
We have bills.
We need to be able to pay our bills.
Yeah, we were not like, we didn't make a lot of money back then. We made about $2,500 each a month. So it was about $5,000 a month. But I was so done. I almost just was wanting to quit and like just figure something out, because I'm kind of, what would you say, Jocelyn?
Impulsive, reckless.
Did you say reckless?
Yeah, jump off the cliff with no parachute.
Listen, I would have the parachute. I just wouldn't know if it worked. Okay. But yeah, I was ready to just walk in, resign, kind of give the double bird to the boss and kind of get out the door. But the wiser heads prevailed, and the consensus was I would need to find another way to make money first.
Well, luckily you have a brake in this situation. Yeah. And so I tapped the brake and said, hey.
I don't think you tapped it. I think I was pressing the gas full speed and you slammed the brake on and we kind of spun out.
Yeah, we're probably just in a tailspin at this point. I don't know. But I said, hey, we can't just leave our jobs.
Yeah.
Right now, we're going to have to come up with some kind of plan.
So we thought of all kinds of crazy ideas. But one day I was riding a lawnmower and I was listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast with Pat Flynn, and he started talking about online business. You could take your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience. You could go out and serve other people, solve problems for people, help other people. You could do it from a laptop with an internet connection from your home. and you could work at home and you could make money anywhere, and you just had to go out and figure out problems you could solve in the marketplace. So that's what we focused on, was how do we make money online? How can we create digital products? How can we create ebooks? How can we create videos? How can we help people solve their problems and get out in the world? Now, I wish that it was an overnight success. I wish that everything I did worked out perfectly, but my first few ideas online, guys, were awful. I had a dad blog. Remember the dad blog, Toddler Apocalypse, Jocelyn?
I do. Yes. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably still out there somewhere.
yeah, you can still find the Facebook
On
page.
like the archives. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to remember though, this was 11 years ago, and 11 years ago in internet time. I mean, that's a long time ago. And online products and services were not what they are today.
Yeah.
And to a lot of people, this idea was crazy. I mean, it was kind of crazy to me too.
Yeah. It was all get rich quick schemes on the internet back then. There weren't a lot of experts teaching people how to do online business, and like there were no tools like we have today to just click a button and you have a website. Like I was going to the bookstore. I remember I went to the bookstore and was buying books on HTML, like for dummies, and like trying to learn how to code and try to build a website and trying to do all these things. And like my ideas, I could not figure out how anyone was making money on the internet, because all we saw were people sharing things on social media and like blogs. And, you had the big websites like Google and CNN and all these other, companies, but it was really hard to figure out how to get any traction. So my first few ideas were kind of a bust, and I went back to the drawing board, and I realized that a lot of people that were making money on the internet were not doing it in the way I was trying to do. I was trying to create content, be entertaining, get a lot of followers. And then I would put like Google ads all over my website in the spammiest way possible to try to get somebody to click an ad by accident, right? And ads only got like a few pennies a click back then, right? So the first money that we ever made on the internet, I was sitting in bed one night and I was really frustrated, and every day I checked my Google AdSense account, there was no money there. But on this day, when I hit refresh on my screen, someone had clicked an ad and we had made 11 cents. Like I had created content on the internet that someone found valuable enough to not hit the back button, and they stayed long enough to click an ad on our website. And I showed Jocelyn, I was like, here, look, Jocelyn, 11 cents, a dime and a penny. We made money on the internet. Like, what did you think? You saw that?
I mean, first of all, I was mad because you were screaming and it was nighttime. So
it was actually kind of like, the 11 cent there was literally a zero there, and I hit refresh and money came back. And like, it was like I won the Super Bowl. It was like I was like celebrating the birth of my child, because I realized that like you could make money online. Like, I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I was going to go try to get 1 million people to click my ad again and get 11 cents. But luckily, Jocelyn talked some sense into me.
yeah, we have been trying. Well, I say we hadn't been trying anything. Shane had been trying to make money, and I'm just like, I told you this is a scam. This isn't going to work. It's just ridiculous. Stop wasting all this time on this stuff. And day after day, he keeps checking. Well, this one day, there's finally some money there, and I was like, all right, well, it's not a lot of money, but it does kind of prove the concept. So let's keep working at it and see if we can come up with any other ideas.
So at that point, we started looking at what other people were doing successfully. And there were some real clues to what was working online to make real money. The ad game wasn't doing it. The affiliate click stuff wasn't doing it. But what was working was people were creating brands. They were creating like a brand where they would create content. Maybe they would blog, maybe they would podcast, start a YouTube channel. They were getting attention with their content online through social media and things like that. And then they were taking knowledge and wisdom and they were putting it into the form of consumable digital products like videos or PDFs or, study guides for tests, things like that. And we started looking at these digital products and this content model. And we said, well, what could we do that's going to mimic what these other people are doing? How could we go out and make money online in our way? Like, what problems could we solve? And we started looking at just our life, and we realized, hey, we're teachers. Jocelyn's an elementary librarian, and elementary libraries are a weird place. Like, every single day inside of an elementary library, the school has every kid in that school go through the library. So it's not like you've got to teach one lesson a day. You've got to teach 6 different lessons to 6 different grades every single day. And that takes a ton of time, to create those lesson plans. And when librarians have to go home at 3:00, they don't get to go home. They got to go home and create 6 hours worth of lesson plans for the next day. So we kind of had the idea, what if Jocelyn created lesson plans for librarians, elementary school librarians, and people could pay for it. And that way they could download the lessons, use them in their classroom, and maybe they would save a bunch of time when we went home.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really understand that most elementary librarians do have to teach classes. And so, I thought, hey, if I'm going to do something, at least I'm going to do something where if the online thing doesn't work out, I can still use these resources in my own classroom. So, I'm very practical. Those of you who know me, that's just the kind of person that I am. And I was like, all right.
I'm super practical.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Everyone totally knows that.
Not really at all.
But yeah, I was just like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to create something that I could use if it doesn't work out with the whole selling thing. Well, luckily, it did work out.
Luckily, it did. Jocelyn started a podcast. It was called the Elementary Librarian Podcast. Did you have a blog first?
Yeah, I actually blogged for probably several months before I started the podcast.
Yeah. And then also Facebook was really good back. Your Facebook page did really well when you started Elementary Librarian, because people, like elementary librarians, are kind of alone in the classroom. So I think they really valued having a place to kind of hang out online. I think your Facebook page, as active as it was what really got us into the idea of doing communities for people, because communities are where people hang out. They'll stay, they'll pay. So like we started this blog, she started getting a little traction. We built a little email list of about 250 people or so. And once we had that email list, we said, hey, let's send an email out and see if people want to buy some lesson plans. Because it was the beginning of summer, or the end of summer. So people were about to go back to school. So in July, we basically sent out an email to these couple hundred people and said, if we make lesson plans for August, would you pay for them?
Well, actually, I made a sample. I made a sample for August. I sent out the sample and I said, hey, here's a sample of what I would create. Is anyone interested in purchasing this? Like, if you guys like this and you will pay for it, then I'll make another month. And I was expecting, maybe a couple of people to say yes, but
a lot of people,
a few other people said yes than I was expecting.
Yeah, we made over $2,500 that first month selling these lesson plans. And it just absolutely blew our mind, because that was like one of our salaries. I mean, we literally had a 50% pay raise in 1 month, because a couple people from Kentucky were creating lesson plans, and they would basically pay us, and we would send them a link to access the files, and we could do all that in our spare time from the comfort of our own home. So things got really crazy really fast. We went all in on this. We were still working full time. We didn't quit our jobs or anything when we first made that initial money. That's crazy to do that. People don't do that. But like we just kept working that whole year, and every month it grew. By like Christmas, we were already making over $5,000 a month on the internet. By July of the next year, 1 year later, I think that was the first year we ever went over $15,000 in a single month. That was our first 5-figure month. And then in August of 2013, which brings us to the Quittiversary, in August of 2013, we made like $30-something thousand on the internet. And we just realized that like the opportunity to start an online business in this time, in this place of life, was the best opportunity for us and our family. So we waited another month. Jocelyn was a hard sell on quitting our jobs. I was like, man, look how much money we can make. But Jocelyn liked the security. How did I talk you into quitting a job? I have no idea how I did this.
I really don't know. I was totally against it. Not because I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I mean, we were already entrepreneurs. It's just I really wanted another year just to kind of make sure that everything was going to go in the right direction. And you were just like, hey, we can do this. Like, let's get it done. And it'll be a lot easier if we're not working every day. And I'm just like, gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
we have made some drastic changes too, though, guys. Like, people think that we just like quit our jobs. Probably did we buy this house in May?
We bought it in May. Yes.
Yeah. So in May of that year, we knew that things were going well. We had, by the end of the school year, we had made the whole year of lesson plans. So we knew we were going to just be able to resell them next year with almost no work, because you make stuff once and you can sell it forever, basically. So like we had already done all the work. We knew we were going to launch this whole thing. So we actually sold our house in May of that year and bought a new house, which is now our headquarters of our office. And this is where
That's
the
where we're
studio is.
recording right now.
Yep. So we bought this house because it cut all of our expenses in half. So we had already kind of made the huge like sacrifice of let's give ourselves the opportunity in case this blows up to be able to move. And that's where I felt safe. I felt super safe at the fact that we like our bills were very low. We had this lovely house in town. Our kids had rooms and it was fine. We're warm, dry, and fed. So I was like, if we're going to take this chance, we've already kind of made those sacrifices. So I didn't really feel like we needed another year of money to do it. That was just my perspective.
Yeah. Well, I very much disagreed. I was really scared, just the thought of like leaving my normal job, that's just totally, for most people, it's really scary. And for me, it was.
I think the one thing that did make me hesitate was it was like, what if we give this up? Because we both did have good jobs and a good school system. We loved our schools. We both loved our schools. We liked the people we worked with. I was a football coach, so I had the kids, and that was more to me, was like giving up that the security of the railroad track. Like we knew we were going to be teachers till we were 57 and a half.
Yeah. And I think that was the thing for me. It's like, I knew that if it didn't work out and I needed to go find a job the next year, I could probably find one, but it probably wouldn't be as good of a situation as I had. Right. I had a really good school. I had really good students. I had amazing people that I worked with, and I haven't always had that. And it was just a risk that I was taking. It was like multiple risks. It was a risk of, can we make this work? It was a risk of, if it doesn't work, can I find another situation that's as amazing as the one that I have right now? So there were a lot of things going through my head, but Shane is a very convincing person, apparently. And so he somehow talked me into it.
I also there's a quote. I don't know who says this, but like, sometimes you have to give up the good to get the great. And I felt like we had a good life. And we've said this before, I felt like we had a good enough life, right? I saw all the control people had, because income equals freedom. And like, if you don't have control over your own money, then you are at the mercy of the person who owns you. The definition and the tax code of an employee is when your employer controls and owns your time. They can tell you when to be somewhere, what to do while you're there, and when you're allowed to leave. And I just didn't think that I was going to be able to do that anymore, and we had this opportunity. It could have failed. I mean, there was definitely, there have been a couple points on the way, guys, where we have almost failed. I mean,
there were some very scary places along the way. I mean, if you listen to our show for a long time, I don't know that we really did a great job of, like expressing that along the way, because we're these online influencers and we have to act like everything's fantastic. And there have definitely been some scary points along the way that I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know. Like, we may have to go back and find a job.
Seriously, that first year, like, one thing we didn't know was like the ebb and flow of the calendar. And the first year we quit our jobs, we had money saved. We had a year of expenses saved. And I would say that probably February of the next year after we quit was horrifically scary, because everything crashed. Nobody was buying anything at all in elementarylibrarian.com. And then nobody really bought in April either. And we were like, what is going on? But we realized that like there were business cycles to everything we did. So like, we had went through about half of our savings by April or May of that year. And we were legit both like, well, good run. This is going to run out. And no one's ever going to buy anything again. And, that's pretty much, we've learned now, like, that's how entrepreneurship always feels. It's like, it's all going to go away at any moment. That never kind of goes away, no matter how much money you get in the bank, no matter how safe your business is. Like, it's entrepreneurship. There's always that little risk of being out in the marketplace, like on your own. It was actually that year, and we actually took a huge chance that year with money going down, with sales not coming in. That was the first time we both looked at each other and realized we need some help. We need coaches. And we actually bought a ticket to San Diego, California, to this event that Pat Flynn was hosting. We flew out there. We talked to him about our business and got some advice and some ideas. And like, we came back and, we took massive action as quick as possible and quickly implemented everything we had learned. And then in that year, things blew up, really exploded. I think we had our first $100,000 month that year after that event. So the $100,000 months are not every month, and they don't happen without, taking the chances, taking the risks. But there has definitely been a lot of ups and downs in this as we went along. Yeah. Do you remember? What do you remember from that time? Do you remember like feeling like when our money was going down and nobody was buying anything and we had no clue what to do? Like, what were you thinking?
I mean, I was just really scared because, I didn't want to quit my job anyway. And so
This was I told you so
oh
territory.
my
People know.
gosh, I was just like, oh, I did not want to do this. And, you talked me into it. And now we're going to have to go and find other jobs. And then you're coming to me in, early, I guess it was 2014, and saying, hey, we're going to spend most of the money that we have left to go to California to this event. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
My thought was, listen, if all this did was get us a great vacation to San Diego, and then we have to go back to school next year, and we got a year off, I was kind of like okay with it at this point. I was like, see what was going to happen. So, but
well, thankfully, it didn't. We didn't run out of money, and we were able to keep everything going.
I love what you said there. Thankfully, not luckily. I hate it when people say luckily, because there was no luck involved in that decision. Like, it was a risk, right? And when we came back, guys, we talk, a lot of people ask us how we do things, and we're not perfect. We make mistakes all the time. There's always ups and downs and roller coastering in business. But like, Jocelyn and I implement really fast. And when we buy like a course, we do it. When we go and hire a coach, we listen and we do what they say. When we, hire someone, we give them things to do. Like, we do not mess around. And I knew that if we went to that event and got the advice we needed, which we got huge price changing advice, that's what they coached us on. We came back and we did it. We took the risk, we took the chances, we changed our pricing. And that's what led to the $144,000 a month in August of 2014.
Yeah. And I just want to say, it's not necessarily like a personality trait or that we have some kind of special something. I mean, I guess that could be argued for anyone, but honestly, it's just the choices that we made. We decided to take a little bit of risk. And when we did take the risk, we went all in on it. We didn't say, well, we're going to take a risk and like maybe implement some of it if we feel like it. No, we were like, all right, this is it. Like, we implement this or we let this die. Like, that's pretty much the two options that we had. So we made it happen, and it's just, it's like one of my favorite quotes. I have to get this in here because I don't come on the show very much, but if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. Yeah. And we weren't making excuses. We were like, if we're going to do this, if we're going to spend most of our savings to go to this event, we're going to go all in and take their advice and get it done. And that's what we did.
Yeah. It frustrates me because even now, which we'll talk about Flip Lifestyle a little bit here, people, I get in and I look at people's accounts and they're like, this isn't working for me. And then I go in and I look at how much training they've watched, and they've watched 11% of the training. And then I'll go to someone who's like posting, I made $10,000 last month. And I go look at their account. They watched every training and they posted in the forums. They did exactly what they said. And like, that frustrates me because that's not who me and Jocelyn are at all. Like I remember we went to a Russell Brunson event. He was having a mastermind at ClickFunnels headquarters, and it was like $25,000 to go to that event. And we were like, wow, that's a lot to pay for an event. And we're like, we will not do anything else in our business except what they say when we come back until we've made every penny of our money back. And we did that. We went to this event. We got the flu at the event.
Yeah, along with like half of the room, but everyone had paid so much they wanted to still be there. And we didn't know we had the flu for sure. I mean, I suspected that I had something.
Yeah, and this was pre-COVID before everybody freaked out about being sick.
19 or 17 or
something. I don't even remember what year it was, but like we went out there and like literally there's people in the floor. Like it looked like someone had like shot like 10 people over in the corner. They were just laying there like, but like, tell us more about funnels. You know what I'm saying? We were trying to like get the last thing we could get. We flew back. Jocelyn was passed out on NyQuil on my shoulder the entire way back. And I was just like dead. I couldn't move, couldn't feel anything, sick for the next 3 or 4 days, but literally in the bed sick. I remember taking what we had learned and starting to build a webinar. We did a webinar a week later. We made $16,000 of our money back. We did another webinar in a couple of weeks, made our money back. And honestly, what we probably learned at that training has made us millions over the last couple of years in sales. So like, if you're really wanting to do something, you got to do it. I mean, you just got to go all in and follow through. And that's who me and Jocelyn are. And I think that's why we've made it to where we are right now.
And I think it's just the amount of risk that you're willing to take. And, I'm not suggesting that you go all in on something and spend your life savings on it. But at the same time, it's like if you take a little bit of a risk,
You're going to get a little
you're
reward.
going to get a small reward. There's a small upside. If you take a bigger risk, usually there's a larger upside.
Yeah.
And so, it's like that in mental health. Like if you're always totally even, then you don't get to feel the really high moments in life and the really happy moments. Sometimes you have to feel the really low ones too.
Yeah.
But it's the same way in life. It's the same way in business. Like if you want a large reward, you have to take a larger risk.
Yeah.
Typically.
That's a good point on mental health too, because I think people try to play it too safe. That's not the right word. I think people try to avoid all pain and suffering. Like I want to go be successful without it being hard, or without it being a struggle, or without it being difficult, or I want to do it alone, or without buying a course, or without getting a coach, or without joining a community. And like, you can't. I'm just telling you right now, like if you choose the entrepreneur path, you are going to get great rewards. You're going to be sitting on the beach in the Bahamas like we were 2 months ago on a bed looking out at the ocean going, this is amazing. I can't believe I get to experience something like this. But then you're also going to be in the boardroom when we're leaving a partnership that's worth $15 million and going, oh my gosh, this is going to be so difficult for the next year, right? So like there's a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but it's all just beautiful. And the most important thing is you have freedom and you have control. So when we built Elementary Librarian and we finally turned the corner where we were going to be successful, like not just we were successful one hit wonder, but like, oh, we do this now. This is what we do. We'll figure it out. And we're going to move forward as entrepreneurs. We started rinsing and repeating. We made another business called ushistoryteachers.com that was basically a clone of Elementary Librarian to sell lesson plans. That worked. I did a playbook company and I started a football coaching podcast. That was cool. I think the first launch we had of that made like $7,000. We even did a live event. I hosted my own football clinic. Where was that? What you did an elementary librarian
I think
clinic?
It's in Atlanta.
Yeah, Jocelyn outsold me like 4-1 or something at that too. But how many people came to yours? It was like,
I want
30
to say,
people, isn't it?
yeah, there was probably like between 20 and 30.
Yeah, like Jocelyn hosted her
We
own.
did like a little summit. It was
Yeah.
just like a 1-day thing.
Yeah, I did a football coaching summit and I had like 6 or 7 guys there and we ate lunch and just talked football all day and used my playbook. So we hosted our first 2 live events that year. Was that 14 or 15? I don't even remember then. That was.
I'm not sure.
I think it was
can't
15.
remember.
I think that was 15 because it would have definitely been after the really big month because I launched. I think Coach XO actually launched in 14. So we launched that and it was going cool. We were just figuring out other ways to make money. We were learning every day. We felt like sponges. And then a friend of ours at church came up to us. Her name was Lindsay. And she said, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, how are you doing this where you're working at home? I'd love to be able to make some money online. Could I get involved? Could you help me out? Could you show me how to create products? I want to stay home and homeschool my kids. We've got other goals and we're just not really making them with the way we're doing now. So Jocelyn, you kind of took her under your wing and made some products and some stuff like that. Her first products were through you, right?
Yeah, she did sell some lessons through my website, like to the librarians. I wanted to kind of supplement some of the lessons that I had, but I didn't want to spend my time making them. So I was like, well, I'll see if she can make some and sell them on my site. And she started doing that and it was going really well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were basically like teaching her all the things that we could do. And we kind of realized we kind of had a method to our madness. There was kind of a system to it about, getting an audience, creating content, making all these things happen. And a few months later, after we taught her how to do all this online stuff, she actually quit her job. And she stayed home to homeschool her kids. And her husband came up to me one day and was just like, wow, it's been such a blessing for her to be able to work at home, for her to be able to make money online. We've got more money now. We're doing lots of cool things. I'm going back to college to get my PhD and we're going on a vacation in a couple of weeks. And it was just a really cool conversation. And it made me realize, gosh, what we know is different than what everyone else is teaching. Everyone else we were following online was like a hustlepreneur, work 90 hours a week, don't
very bro marketing,
very yeah.
Get your Lamborghini, get on this helicopter,
Get on this private
all
jet,
that kind of
yo.
stuff.
I rented an Airbnb, so you think I live in a mansion. Check this out.
And
Yeah.
you know what? Like, if that's what you're into, I don't judge you. Like, that's cool if that's the kind of hustle and grind that you want in your life. But like, we just weren't those people. We were like, hey, we just want some extra money to like go on vacations and not have to work for somebody else and spend my time doing a job for somebody else. Like, that's what we want. So we knew that there were other people who probably wanted that too. I'm guessing that if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably one of those people as well.
Yeah. So that's
why we started this.
Yeah. We wanted family focused entrepreneurship. We wanted to be like, hey, I like to take my kids to school in the morning. I like to pick my kids up from school after school. I like to be able to go and do things with them in the afternoons.
We volunteered at their school.
Yeah. To this day, I took my kids to school this morning, and, I'm going to pick up Isaac after, school, and we're going to go to the gym together. We work out together now. The activities have changed, but the time has not. And that was kind of the businesses that we wanted to produce. And it was about this time that we also decided to start. We also wanted a more steady income. We were selling one-off products, I think, up until this point, where people would buy like annual passes or like lifetime passes to content and all this. And it was right around this year that we switched over to the membership model. We wanted a more steady source of income. We wanted a predictable source of income. And we had went to an event, again, on the other side of the planet Earth. We actually flew to the Philippines to go to an event to meet a couple influential online marketers that were there. Lewis House was there. John Lee Dumas was there. James Schramko was there. Chris Ducker. Like, all these people were in one place, and we wanted to fly to the other side of the planet and meet them. So we went over there and we learned about the membership model. We learned how it worked and how it was a cooler way to do business, because, if you have, 200 people paying you $100 a month, you're making $20,000 a month, but that your average customer will stay 10 months into the future. So you basically know you're going to make that much money for 10 months. Now you can take risks, you can make plans, you can, it just stabilizes your online income. It creates a floor for your revenue. And we actually switched. We took another big risk. We were making big money doing it the other way, but we decided to switch to the membership model, and it worked. It worked like gangbusters. I think the first year that you started the membership model with Elementary Librarian, I want to say it was like 60 grand was the first launch back to school or something like that.
Remember.
I think
it was really good.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And we created this awesome, stable, predictable income. At the same time, we started Flipped Lifestyle. We started teaching people how to go out and find 100 people to pay them $50 a month, make $60,000 a year, or 200 people to make $120,000 a year. So we start teaching Flipped Lifestyle. We start doing the membership model. It really takes off. We're helping people all over the place start memberships, start doing these things. We were very blessed by our own efforts to build a relationship with Pat Flynn, and we were able to get on his podcast, the Smart Passive Income Podcast, at its height. And we would become the most downloaded episode of that podcast's 100 million downloads history. And that's where we launched Flipped Lifestyle. We launched it on Pat Flynn's podcast. And people tell me like, oh, well, that's so lucky that you got to be on Pat Flynn's podcast. Are you kidding me? No, it's not. One, remember, we just told you we almost went out of business going to one of his events because we spent all of our savings. Two, we nurtured that relationship at every turn. There was one time we found out Pat Flynn was going to be in Maine, and we went to that event, right? And I said, Pat, do you want to have lunch with us? We wrote him a message because we were going to be there. And he was like, yeah, I can do lunch on Tuesdays.
But we were planning to leave on like Sunday.
Right. So we decided to stay 2 extra days on our own dime.
Yeah, it cost a lot. At that time, airlines weren't really doing changes because it was pre-COVID and, they didn't have to. So, yeah, we changed a flight. I think it was like $500 a piece. So we paid an extra like $1,000 in change fees plus hotel so that we could have I think it was a dinner with Pat.
We picked him up and we went to a barbecue place, remember? Mm-hmm. And but that just goes back to like, you have to put yourself in the right place to be in the right place at the right time. Everyone's like, I hope I get my big break, or I hope I get in the room with so-and-so, or if I could ever meet them, I would XYZ. But that's not how you got to operate. S&J don't do that. We don't play like that. We say, hey, where are you going to be? How can we put ourselves in? And listen, we could have got there and he could have canceled the lunch. We could have got there and nothing would have ever came of this situation, but that's not what happened. We were able to build that relationship, nurture that relationship with Pat. And when the opportunity came for us to be able to be on his show, we were able to do it. And he didn't have us on the show just because we're someone special. You know, I have a philosophy: if you ever want to get on an influencer's radar, buy their product and become their best testimonial. That's how you get on people's radar. Because if you are their best testimonial and you put in the work and you do the thing, how could they not have you on their podcast? How could they not brag about you to everybody in the world? But some of y'all are so busy listening, you're not doing your best to get in front of people, right? So we made it happen, and that gave us the opportunity for something to come out of that. So Flip Lifestyle launched, and it grew really fast. I think we had over 100 people in our community after that very first webinar, very first launch. And it became very apparent very fast that what we did worked for other people. We had multiple people quickly build online revenues and quit their jobs. Multiple people were starting to make thousands of dollars online very, very fast. We had one couple, I remember, Chris and Ivy Newport. They were one of our first clients, and they did everything we told them. And they went out, they built this website, they built this brand, they were doing these things online. They had been dabbling in like some sales, but they switched over to this membership model, and they wrote me in and said, Shane, it worked too good. We didn't listen about throttling the beta, and we got 400 people to join our membership this weekend. And I was like, holy smokes, like that is absolutely insane. So we saw that our methods were working. Everything we were learning was going well. And it actually got kind of overwhelming to run two businesses real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely still running the librarian business and working really hard to serve them. We were working really hard to serve this audience, and we were doing that one together. We still had the coaching business. I think at that time, we still had the U.S. history teachers business. And, you know, we're trying to run 4 things at one time, and that's a lot for 2 people to do.
With no employees, no help. We had not learned how to hire people yet. So it was really confusing, really hard. And, you know, we had to make some decisions. We shut down the coaching business because I had been out of football coaching for a couple years, and I actually felt like I was kind of losing my love for it, my attention to it. I didn't really want to do any more podcasts about it. So I was ready to move on from that. And then we were looking at our other businesses. Elementary Librarian, it was such a cash cow. Like we couldn't shut it down. U.S. History Teachers was growing, and it was also very passive. U.S. History Teachers took almost no time to run because it was truly just a library of lesson plans for teachers. And we had started to contract out a little bit of the creation of that. And then we started just looking at everything, and we thought, man, Flip Lifestyle is a huge opportunity. We're making a huge difference in the world. The podcast is becoming popular. We had been featured in a lot of things like Forbes and Huffington Post and Business Insider and all these magazines. So we had like some really good traction. And one day, I don't even know why we thought about this, but what brought up the selling of Elementary Librarian? Like, when did we start talking about that?
I think it was around the time that we were moving. So we're kind of jumping around in the story a little bit. But in 2016, we purchased a new house. It's the property that we live in now. And around that time, we started thinking, you know, I'm not a librarian anymore. At that point, I had not been a librarian for 3 years. And I just felt like the people on that website, they really deserved somebody who was working in the trenches with them every single day. And I just didn't feel that type of connection that I had. It was getting really heavy for me to work on, meaning that I wasn't waking up excited about it. It was just like, oh, I have to do this, not I get to do this. And I was just thinking, I would really love it if I could just sell this and turn my attention to something else.
So Jocelyn, the internet sleuth that she is, found a broker.
I found this broker on Forbes. It was actually the print magazine. So my kids, they do fundraisers for their school each year, and one of the fundraisers was a magazine fundraiser. And when kids do fundraisers, who buys everything? Mom and dad and grandparents and things like that. So one of the fundraisers that they had, like I said, was for magazines, and I had picked out some business magazines. So I had like Inc. and Forbes and some other,
of them, yeah.
So we would get a few magazines each month. And in this particular episode what is a magazine? It's not an episode.
Issue.
Yes.
Volume.
In this particular...
Are there still magazines? Do we have magazines?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a former librarian. Okay.
Periodicals. Also the periodical section.
Just look it up in the card catalog. It's fine.
Put it on the microfiche. Is that what it's called? The film microfiche?
No.
Do you remember that stuff? You remember you have to go to college and like look at the little microfiche?
Yes, we are that old.
Is it a microfiche? What is it called? I don't remember.
We really did have to do that in college. But anyway, okay. So back on track. I was reading this particular issue of Forbes where somebody had sold a website and they did it through Quiet Light Brokerage. And so
shout out Quiet Light.
Yep. And we worked with Jason. So if you guys are interested in learning more about selling a website, we can hook you up with Jason. He's fantastic to work with. Just let us know. You can write into customer support. But anyway, we contacted Jason. He got us, started talking to us, trying to figure out like the valuation and what it might be worth and who might be interested in buying it. And so we started that process. And before too long, we found a buyer.
Yeah. We were kind of like, and it was also when we really cemented the value of the membership model, because when you sell an asset, they don't care about anything but recurring revenue, guys. I'm telling you right now, like if you ever want to sell your business, if you don't have a monthly recurring revenue and it's not predictable and consistent and you can keep it going without yourself, like they're probably not going to buy it. But ours was pretty valuable. We had good recurring revenue. Jason said it's probably going to be worth $1 million, plus or minus 100 either way. And we found a buyer. Should I tell this story? If I told the Russian story, like we ended up selling to this, we did not end up selling to this guy, but there was this guy, like this crazy Russian mobster. We got to get on a call with and negotiate the thing. And he was like telling us all this crazy stuff. That's on another episode. I won't share it right now.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had a lot of different opportunities. We had several different buyers interested. We ended up going with one who was a cash buyer. And that was a big turning point for us. That was in 2017. We got it sold, and then we were able to just turn our attention to Flip Lifestyle and serving these customers.
So we got the money. We paid off this house. We paid off our house, and then we basically were like, well, now all we have to do is help other people start, build, and grow online businesses for Flip Lifestyle. So we really focused on that for the next 3 or 4 years. But over the next 3 years, things changed a lot. We both felt a lot of dissatisfaction. Jocelyn, around this time, had started having a lot of like pain in her shoulders and in her neck. And, everything in our life looked great. I mean, we had just sold a business on a contract for like $1.1 million and like $800.
We paid off a house. We just bought a new house. We had all of these cool things going on.
Healthy children. We had a great community. We had this lake house, this beautiful Garden of Eden paradise place. The American dream on paper.
On paper, our life was fantastic.
Was what we were living. I mean, there was really there was not like a lot of outside stress, right? I mean, it was like everything was growing. Everything. I mean, we had ups and downs like every business does at this time, but this period was very prosperous. And then from about 2017 to 2020, like the wheels personally started kind of falling off for us. You speak to it more and you talk to it.
Yeah. I mean, I was just having a really hard time. I was having a lot of physical pain that started in about 2016, like right before we moved. I was just having a lot of physical pain. I couldn't figure out why. I went to all different kinds of specialists to try to get help. And everybody's like, hey, it looks great to me. Like you are in great physical condition. And I'm like, well, sounds nice, but I am not in good physical condition, I just don't feel good. And nobody could really help me. So at that point, I was just kind of like, okay, well, if it's not a physical problem, then the only other thing I could think of is maybe it's something in my mind. And that got me sort of sent down like a little rabbit hole of just, just investigating, researching, trying to figure out like what could cause physical pain besides a physical problem. And it took me a really long time. I mean, I fumbled around in the dark for a really long time. I went through the motions of my life for about 3 years.
And all this at the same time going to psychiatrists, chiropractors, dry needling, what do they call it? What are they called?
SSRIs. I tried medication.
Yeah.
I did that for quite a while, about in 2018, 19, something like that. And, nothing was really working for me. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And so around this time, I mean, this we're kind of like skipping through a few years, but a lot of you noticed that I went off the podcast. And before I went off the podcast, I wasn't great on the podcast because I just didn't feel good.
Yeah.
I was just like kind of falling apart in a lot of different ways. And so
And we kept roaring on though. That's the thing, is that's what they teach you. Don't deal with your emotions. Don't deal with your feelings. Just rock on. You got to be a trooper. You got to get out there. You got to make it happen. You got to be an entrepreneur. I mean, during 18 and 19, when these things were progressively getting worse, like our health was getting worse, our marriage was definitely getting worse. Like it was bad. I mean, it was just like very distant, very disconnected, very hard, but we were still growing Flipped Lifestyle. We had live events in Nashville and Lexington, Kentucky. Like we were doing all these crazy things, but at the same time, nothing we were doing was helping at all. And it kind of like, when did you leave the podcast totally? Was that 2019?
I think it was in 2020 because the kids were home from school and I sort of used that as the breaking point. And honestly, it was a breaking point for me in a lot of ways, just because I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't be a business owner. I can't be a wife. I can't be a podcaster. I can't be a teacher because, my kids are now at home trying to do their schoolwork. And
during the pandemic.
yeah. And like I'm having to be a short order cook during the day, like I was having to do all these things. And I'm just like, I cannot do this anymore. Like it's just not working for me. So I told Shane, I was like, listen, I can't be on the podcast anymore.
Yeah.
It was kind of a long time coming anyway. I was kind of halfway doing it.
Yeah. 19 was if you ever go back and listen to episodes from 19, like there's definitely like Jocelyn's there, but you're not really there. You know what I'm saying? You're not really saying a whole lot. You're not really doing anything. Like it's like there was definitely a problem. It was bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was very obvious that I didn't want to be there. And it's not because I didn't want to serve our people. It was because I was just falling apart.
Serve our people. Yeah.
Yeah. And
you had to choose yourself at that time. For
yeah.
Sure.
And so, just keep investigating and keep looking. And we'll tell the story
on your podcast.
Yeah, we're going to tell the story on the podcast that is coming out this week also. So you guys will have to check that out. But so 2020, I finally was able to start getting some help.
Let's jump back into Flip Lifestyle here. So here's what happens then in 2020 is we get a call from this company that wants us to partner with them because as the world is shutting down in 2020, we get this call from this live event company that's like, hey, we want to start a live event company. We know the world's going to come back eventually, and we're going to open this company. We're going to go around and fill up stadiums. We're going to go speak. We want you guys to be a part of this. And we're going to introduce you to, the world. We love what Flip Lifestyle does, and we want to go out and we want to make that happen.
And you may be thinking, it's 2020. Who's starting a live event company?
But this guy was crazy enough that our partner was like, hey, I want to basically hire all these people that are out of work, and then we'll have the best company coming out. We'll be the first live events to open up, and we'll start a seminar company. And you're going to go in and you can create big high ticket packages and you can go sell those to people and serve people all over the world. And we'll just go each week to a different city and we'll introduce so many more people are going to hear about your work here at Flip Lifestyle. You're going to be able to help so many more people to do this. And I was looking at this opportunity and it was like, wow, this is crazy. It just might work. And this was another one of those moments where it's like, take a chance, take a risk. Like this could have flopped. It could have failed. It could have been absolutely terrible. And we had to make dramatic changes to our business model. I mean, guys, it costs like $2 million to rent a stadium. When you go into a city, you are $2 million in the hole, right? So we're taking massive personal risk. We're changing everything we're selling. We're changing everything we're doing, but we're doing it because it will expand our reach. It will expand our impact. It will allow us to hire more people so that we can serve people at a different level. But there's huge risks in going into these companies. And like, the deals that we have to make, we receive, of all the things that we sell, we receive these really small portions of it because so much of the money has to go to have big speakers and draws and advertising and stadiums and music and pyro and all this. But it seemed really super exciting, right? So
yeah, and it was at a time where there was just a lot of uncertainty in the world in general, and we were like, you know what? If we're gonna take a risk and do something different, I mean, now's as good a time as any.
The world was ending anyway, right? I mean, literally, no one knew if like World War III was about to break out. Every business was shut down, and we're like, you know what? Let's just go all in. So in 2020, we went all in. I'll give this the nutshell version of this, but like we decided to change our whole business. We shut down our online offers. We created big coaching packages. We had never really sold coaching before. And we started selling services. We were building websites for people. And like we basically created the systems that we needed to create to support this giant stadium tour with our partners. And it was amazing. I mean, it really was. It was a wild ride for like 3 straight years. We were just going from city to city. We were making a huge impact. And I had this like really rare opportunity that probably not many people get. You know, it's a special skill set to like run a company. It's a special skill set to be able to speak on a big stage in front of 8,000 people. It's a special skill set to go in for 2 days at a seminar and be able to sell high ticket packages to people. And then it's another skill set altogether to be able to fulfill it. And just through all of our life experience, we have been blessed. And I was the only person that was able to go on the big stage, go in the partner meetings, to go on the little stages and the seminars, and to also serve our people. And I got to do all those things for like 3 straight years. And it was very beneficial to our company. We grew our reach, we grew our list, we grew our, revenue for those 3 years. It was a huge risk, but it was a good payoff as well. So
yeah, and I would say, it's sort of like starting all over again, honestly, because we had to change so many things so fast. And, it worked really well until it didn't.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like, during this time, Jocelyn and I went on a huge personal journey. We invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in ourselves of going to treatment and finding, all these modalities and methodologies that are helping people with like treatment resistant depression and relationship coaches and everything we could like to keep our marriage, growing and getting back to a healthy place, getting each other individually healthy. So we're doing all this heavy lifting of building this massive multi-million-dollar company. At the same time, we're doing all this like personal work. And I took a personal toll. I really did. I was on the road 3 out of 4 weeks a month. I mean, I was constantly doing these 16-hour seminars, and then I would have to go in this stadium, and there was just constant change as this company was growing. And, then we had some difficulties with how everything was organized, and all these different business things were happening as well behind the scenes.
And we also had a lot more people. So when you have a lot more people, meaning we had a lot more employees to support all of these new customers coming in. We had a lot of contractors that we worked with on the sales floor.
At one point, 38 people. We went from 0 to 38 people working for us as a W-2 or a contractor. And probably within 18 months, we had that team built.
And so not only were you on the road all the time, we were also on meetings with people all the time, like trying to figure out, what are we going to do this week? How are we going to change things to make it better?
Where's people going to show up? Or do we have enough people on the road? Or do we have enough people at home?
Have we paid everyone? Like that was more of my job.
Yes.
Got to make sure everybody gets paid on the back end. Got to make sure all the systems are working. And so
Jocelyn's building this entire structure on the back end, and she's not at her healthiest.
Not even close.
Not even close. I'm not at my healthiest. I'd ballooned up in weight. I gained like 40 pounds. I weighed 279 pounds at one time. I just kept getting unhealthier and healthier physically. And, but at the same time, we don't mess around. Like if we're going to do something, we're going to do it at the highest level. We're going to do it right. And we built this incredible apparatus until I got sick in 2021 and almost died. I literally almost died. Like it was like, I ended up I got a staph infection. I was really unhealthy. I ended up in the hospital for 9 days. And that was our first clue. I came out of that good. We were still roaring ahead because we were in the thick of it. But really about a year later, we started looking at things and saying, gosh, is this the life that we started out to build? Is this what we wanted? Is this worth it? But then I felt so much pressure because I had all these employees, and I was like, gosh, these people depend on me for their salary, and they depend on me being on that stage. And like, I was kind of the first domino to fall. Like there was 3 of us that sold things on the big stage. So it was like kind of up to us to go up there and make sure that all this other opportunity was created. And we started looking at it. And, earlier this year, we went to a mindset retreat. We went to a healing retreat, and we said, gosh, is this even what we want? Like, do I want to keep building this? Do I want to keep do we want this for our marriage and our life and our kids and like being on the road all the time? And it was really like, totally counterproductive to what Flipped Lifestyle started out being, which was make a good living, have money to do the things that you want, and then spend time with your family. And it just wasn't going well. So earlier this year, we decided to look at the benefits of the seminar company and the challenges of the seminar company. And we decided to actually stop and just shut it down. Guys, money's not everything, but we did have a huge opportunity. I mean, we were going to be an 8-figure company this year. I mean, we were going to do 8 figures in sales. No doubt it was going to happen. We were going to be speaking. I was going to speak all over the country. Our profile would have elevated to a very high level. But back in March of this year, we just said, this is not the life that we want. We want our marriage. We want our kids. We want to help people. We want to be there for our community. We don't want a big team. We want a small and mighty team. We do not want a large and powerful team. We want a small and mighty team. And we left the partnership. We left the business that we had created over the last 3 years. And we went back to, the roots of Flipped Lifestyle. Like, let's get this thing back to where it was now. And let's help people earn their income online and grow their impact out in the world in the community environment. So,
and let me just say that, I mean, there have been many people that have told us to our faces, you're crazy.
You're crazy. Yeah. It was shocking when we stopped because like most people, like as long as the money's big enough, they'll do it. But for us, life comes before work. And we practice what we preach. We drink our own Kool-Aid and we put our money where our mouth is. Now, has it been difficult in the last 3 months, Jocelyn?
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a little difficult.
It's been very stressful.
Very stressful. I mean, we had to let 10 people go on our W-2 staff. We had to take all of our contractors off the road, and they were, making a lot of money. And like, it was very difficult to make those decisions because it affected so many people.
We tried to keep selling big ticket packages. However, it just wasn't working with the model that we had in place.
Yeah, it was another thing. It's like, are you building the business you want to build? Like to sell high ticket online, you have to have a big phone sales system. You have to have a huge ad thing. And like, we just don't like running lots of ads, and we don't like running a big team full of salespeople. And like, we just didn't want to build that. That's not what we wanted.
It just wasn't the type of energy that we wanted to put out in the world. We were just like, you know what? This is not what we're built for. This is not what we want to do going forward. And so this is not what we're going to do. And so, we had to make some really tough calls, and, it affected a lot of people. And this is a lot closer to what we ultimately want than what we were doing.
Yeah. You got to build, when you're building an online business, you build it for you and your family. You can do anything you want, anytime you want online. And what we want is we want to podcast and create shows that provide value for people. We want to have a community of hundreds of people all over the world that are using our products and services to succeed. We want to be available to them, but I also want to pick up my kids from school, and I want to go to the gym, and I don't want to be traveling every week of every month. Some people, it's great if that's what you want to do. I know some people, your aspirations are your aspirations. You go get what you want. But for us, Flipped Lifestyle has always been about choice. Are we in choice? So we decided this year, like, to build only businesses where we're in choice. Jocelyn's new business, as we're going to talk about here in a second, is going to be in choice. Flipped Lifestyle, there's changes, of course, all the time, because your business serves you first, and it serves your family first. And then because you're being served, because you're being filled up, you can go pour your cup into other people. And we just didn't have anything left in the tank after that last chapter of what we were doing.
Well, and one thing that I realized too, just along my, my healing journey and just kind of figuring things out, is that, I wasn't necessarily in choice when I jumped into Flip Lifestyle. Like, this was Shane's thing. He really wanted me to be a part of it. And at that time in my life, I was like, okay, somebody wants me to do something. I better do it. And I realized along the way that I really didn't want to do it, and I probably should have said no.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were not emotionally mature back then. I mean, not at all. We went through, guys, I can't stress to you how much work we've done. I mean, when I say we literally spent like 6 figures on personal work in the last 3 years, I'm talking about counseling, retreats, belief processes, work,
weight loss program.
Weight loss program. Like, we both had to get our physical health back. We've lost a combined like 100 pounds of weight between us. Honestly, like, we have literally put so much into our personal work that we're just now at 45 and 43
43.
getting into like the place where we're like, oh, we have to be in choice for these things to work, for us to be healthy, for us to be strong, for us to be there for each other. We've got to be healthy like ourselves. So, it's hard because the world expects so much of you when you have a, certain perspective of who you are and what you do. And it's hard when you change. And we've had a lot of changes, mind, body, spirit, emotions, everything recently. So that's where we are now. That's where we are in 2023, guys. One, I do feel like we are both in choice. Choice sometimes is weird. And it's like, you could choose this and be eating filet mignon, or you could choose this and be eating the T-bone steak at the ribeye, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like there's different choices that we all make.
And there's no, one thing I've realized is there's no right or wrong choices. There are just choices. So the right and wrong is just depending on who is looking at it,
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm most thankful for the first like decade as self-employed, location independent, online entrepreneurs. Like we've just grown so much. I mean, I think if I was still teaching, I would just be miserable. I'd be completely unhealthy, like massively overweight, and just not satisfied with life, at all. But now for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm getting to know myself. I feel like me and you are really getting to know each other. Like, even though we are,
we've been married for 19 years, almost 20 years
together for 25. And it's like, who the heck are you? Right. It's like, who is this person living there? Like, because we've become such different people. And like, now we're opening our mind to like what's inside of us.
But I don't think that we're becoming different people. I think that we're discovering who we truly are.
Ooh, go deeper. What do you mean by that?
I'm just saying, I think that who we truly are has always been in there. It's just we've developed these like false personas because we needed to do that at the time to survive or to move forward or whatever. And like now we're finally starting to just be comfortable with who we really are, and be confident in that and let that actually come out. I think that for a long time that we weren't either willing or able to do that. And because of that, our health really was negatively affected.
Yeah. Your body keeps the score, people. Like our bodies.
That's the name of a book.
Yeah, it's a great book. And our bodies betrayed us a little bit because our minds were betraying them. And when you say personas, it's like all the things our parents teach us, all the things our church teaches us, our leaders teach us.
Nobody has any ill intent. I mean, for the most part, like it's not like somebody said, I'm going to screw these people up.
Yeah, and everybody's doing their best.
Make them have a false self or whatever. That didn't happen. I know it didn't in my life. My parents did the best job that they could, and they did a great job. And there are definitely some things that I need to work on from the past and from the present.
Yeah. So that's where we are. We're going into a new season here. We're kind of like taking this 10-year chunk of our life and saying that was a great 10 years. I mean, we made more money than most people will probably ever make. We spent a lot of money because you don't know how to spend money until you get it, right? That's the problem. Nobody can teach you that growing up.
We've made a lot of mistakes.
So many mistakes, and we have learned a ton from all those mistakes as well. And like, it's made us really like who we are, and like, it's made us better coaches. It's made us better entrepreneurs. It's made us better parents. It's made us better partners in life and crime. And it's just been really, really good. So what's the future look like here? What are the next 10 years going to look like? There's going to be some changes, definitely. We're thinking about some different things. Flipped lifestyle has really been an awesome thing. We're probably going to like add some more branding onto flipped lifestyle. Like one of the things that we really want to talk about is growth, personal growth and professional growth. So you notice we have been calling some of my call-in show type shows the Earn and Grow Show. We've been doing that. We're going to do some of that on the internet. As well. We're going to probably brand some more things, Shane and Jocelyn. I think we're going to go more personal branding on some stuff. I believe that personal branding is like a strong place to be. So there might be some brand changes coming forward. Might be doing some things around here just to kind of spruce things up around flipped lifestyle. Still going to be helping people start, build, and grow online businesses. Still helping people earn their income online, grow their impact out in the world. Still helping people with the membership model. We really believe in the membership model, because it does create that floor of revenue. We're going to talk more about our experience with high ticket. I've sold now millions and millions of dollars worth of high ticket products. We're still going to offer some high ticket products. We're going to talk more about affiliate marketing. There's a lot of things we've learned over the last 3 years on how to make more money that we really want to share with people out in the world. So a lot of growth in the online game, but also too, we want to take what we've learned personally in our own personal journey, both our self-healing. You got to heal yourself first before you can heal your relationship, guys. Like, it's all internal. It's all about the inner work. I'm working on myself. Jocelyn's working on herself. And then we can bring our best selves into partnership. That's kind of where we stand on that. So like, we want to talk a lot more about personal growth. And actually, the good thing about teaching thousands of people over the past decade online business is the fact that we've seen what holds people back. And I can tell you right now, it ain't the process. It ain't the plan. It ain't the blueprint. It ain't how it works. It's really kind of simple how to make money online. It's everything between your ears, everything between your heart, everything in your soul, everything in your emotions that are holding you back. And that personal development, that personal work that's helped us so much is where Jocelyn is going to be focusing on her new show. So let's tell them this is the first time out. We're going to release her first podcast this week. It's going to be called the Heal and Grow Show. And we're going to be releasing that podcast this week as well. So you're going to be able to find a link to that in the show notes. And you'll be able to find that at healandgrow.com, healandgro.com. But it's going to be a
GROW.
Oh, what'd I say? GRO. That's what I said? Did I not do the W? I didn't do the W. Okay. healandgrow.com. I spelled it wrong. Yeah. How do you even spell check me like on the microphone? That is ridiculous.
Like, it's so easy.
I know. Healandgrow.com. Okay. Healandgrow.com. Where we're going to talk about a lot of alternative healing modalities. So let's talk about that, Jocelyn. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I'm really excited to start this new show. I'm really going to go through and just share some of my experiences from the last, well, really about 10 years, but especially in the last 3 years, of some different things that I've discovered, some mistakes that I've made along the way, and some really cool people that I've met who I think could help a lot of other people.
I mean, Jocelyn and I, like, guys, I mean, we say we suffered for 3 years. I mean, people probably don't know like how dark things got like in our life, like individually and as a couple.
Yeah, we have to keep that glossy exterior because, we are a personal brand, and, everybody wants to think that things are perfect and shiny and amazing.
They're not
And
always.
yeah, I mean, there were times that they were. And of course, like everyone else's life, there are times where they weren't.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things we want to do is just be a lot more transparent. Like, we've always shown you how to do online business, how to do these things, how to be good family people and things like that. But we want to show you more of the dark side. We want to show you more of the individual side that we're both going through our healing journey. And also, too, like, we just suffered kind of alone for like years before we finally found some help. And guys, the people that we have found to help us, like the things they do, like you probably haven't heard of, and you're probably not going to hear about them in normal mainstream channels. But it's really changed our life and changed our family's future in ways that money and success never could, as individuals and as partners. And we want to show you that. We want to talk about the dark times, talk about the good times, talk about the balance of it all. Like, we've learned to appreciate the challenges and the benefits of everything that we do now. And we want to make sure that you guys who might be going through hard times out there, or you're going through difficult mindset struggles, don't have to wait 3 to 5 years, 10 years to figure out an answer like we did. I mean, we went to so many doctor appointments and so many things. And nobody could help us, but we have found relief, and we have found help, and we have found support. And now we want to create a place at Heal and Grow where you can personally grow, where you can actually heal, and you can get past the traumas, big T and little t, in your life that are holding you back in your entrepreneur journey, that are holding you back from being the best partner you can be, that are holding you back from being a great friend, that are holding you back from building relationships in your life that you might need. So we're going to bring you experts. What else is the show going to be about?
Yeah. And honestly, I'm just joining in with you guys as a learner. I'm still learning. I'm still figuring all this out. I don't know that I'll ever have it completely figured out, but I want to just show you some of the roads that I've traveled down and hopefully give you some shortcuts so that you don't have to travel such a long road.
Yeah. So the Heal and Grow show, the first episode, is it going to be? Yeah, we'll just release it the same day. We're going to release it the same day. So you can go right now. Go to healandgrow.com. Enter your name and email, get on our newsletter. Of course, we're going to be having a community for this. There's going to be a community that you can join on your healing journey, whatever that healing journey is. That community is going to be amazing. We're going to have training in there. We're going to be bringing you the world's best experts on all kinds of different modalities. So, Jocelyn, tell them a little bit. Tell them the mission statement. Let's just tell them a little preview here about Heal and Grow, what it's going to be about, and kind of like how the approach works that we're going to be taking to personal growth and development over there.
All right. So at Heal and Grow, our mission is to empower individuals to embrace alternative modalities and embark on a journey of self-discovery, healing, and growth. We understand that the answers to our physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional challenges often lie within us, waiting to be uncovered. Our goal is to demystify these approaches and make them accessible to everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances.
And it really is going to be like a holistic place of like healing and growth. We're going to talk about the mind and mindset. We're going to talk about the body and how much the body plays in all of our healing and all of our growth. We're going to talk about our emotions. For all you dudes out there listening, you're holding in your emotions is
and
slowly,
women.
and women, but especially the dudes, you're slowly killing yourself, which I've learned. And also just our spiritual health and growth. And we all have a lot of beliefs that we have had planted in us over our life, and like how we connect with God and our own spirit is really important. It affects your physical body, it affects your mind, it affects your emotions. So we're just going to dig into that. We've got a lot of different things we want to talk about there, like a lot of the things that we discovered that helped us like heal internally and that continue to help us heal are just not being talked about at your doctor's office. So it's going to be an awesome show. That first episode is going to be out right now. That is healandgrow.com. You can also find the Heal and Grow show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else that you need to listen to those shows. Do us a favor, guys. Go on there right now and listen to that first episode. Go check it out. Go follow it. There's a new feature in Apple Podcasts. If you've not done so yet, follow the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast and follow the Heal and Grow show. We want to make sure that we're getting those follows because that's how Apple actually is judging podcasts now in the rankings. So make sure you're following, make sure you're subscribing, and then leave us a review of the Heal and Grow show. Go check that out. We'll talk more about all the different modalities that we're going to talk about, all the different types of healing, how to overcome trauma, how to get your mindset in order. Like, go check out the Heal and Grow show. That's where we're going to be talking about that today. So as soon as you get done with this podcast, you can go listen to the Heal and Grow show. I will be on the show. It is definitely Jocelyn's show. But I am the interviewer in chief around here.
Yeah. The cool thing about it is that when I stepped away from Flip Lifestyle, I was kind of like, this wasn't really my choice. I just kind of got pulled along to do this. I didn't really want to do it. And, I decided I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. But the cool thing about Heal and Grow is that when I decided to do it, I knew that I really wanted Shane to be a part of it. And that was a really beautiful thing because that means that I was in choice and I wanted him to be a part of it. So he agreed. And that's really cool because
which means I'm also in choice. I wanted you to be a part of I want you to always be a part of everything.
Yeah. And at that time, I didn't have very healthy boundaries and I wasn't good at telling people no. And so I was like, sure, I'll be a part of your show. And now I'm like, you know what? Don't really want to be a part of it. But the cool thing about it is now that I can now come back and I can be a part of it when I want to in choice. And that's what I plan to do. So I probably won't be on every single episode of Flip Lifestyle or the Earn and Grow show going forward, but I will be on sometimes
from time to time.
And you will see me on social media as well.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool now that we get to I'm pretty much going to handle the earn side of the equation. We're going to help people, of course, like always. I really do believe that if you can get your money right, you can get everything else right. I mean, that's when people get disrupted. The number one cause of divorce is financial concerns. The number one cause of stress and anxiety is financial concerns. And I just heard this stat. This is a crazy stat. I heard this just a few minutes before we started recording. I was watching a video, and they believe, which is funny because of my neck pain that I had like last week, 70% of all doctor care and hospital visits, 70% of everything that is physically ailing our bodies right now in the Western world, and they know it's happening here because it's not happening in some other places, but in the Western world is because of psychological stress and anxiety responses. Your body's just constantly in stress, constantly in fight or flight. And a lot of our stress comes from money. Like if you don't know how you're going to pay your bills and you're not satisfied at work, because many of you out there just want to quit your job because you hate who you work for or you hate where you're working. If you're not satisfied at work, it creates anxiety. If you're not having financial stuff, it can create stress and anxiety. It does for us. So like if we can get that part of the equation done, we can get your what is it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I don't know how you say
Warm, dry, and fed. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can get those basic needs and everything met, then you will have space to go out and work on your mind, body, soul, spirit. Then you will have the money to be able to go out and do some of these, get some coaching, get some retreats and do this stuff. So Flip Lifestyle, the Earn and Grow Show, this is where we're going to take care of the entrepreneur side of the equation. And the Heal and Grow Show is going to be about the personal internal part of the equation.
All right. I'm really excited about it. I hope that you will go and listen. Let's end today by talking about some of our favorite things about the last 10 years of our entrepreneurship journey.
I did not know you were going to do this.
I know. I threw you a curveball. Do you like that?
It's a very curvy, spontaneous curveball. I think okay, let's just go back and forth. We'll do like 3 each. Okay. So I think definitely, I think taking our kids to school. I just think that was such a rare privilege. Like, when I was a school teacher, like we couldn't do that. We had to use daycare. We had to have people watching our kids. And honestly, it's pretty freaking crazy awesome. I mean, for years we have watched us go and drop off our children at school, 80%, 90, 80, 90% together. And we always look around and there's not another dad in the car. I mean, it's just not happening. Or
there'll be like mom or dad.
Right. But it's never like a whole family together. And like, we get on our kids' nerves because they're teenagers now. And like, we're definitely.
And vice versa.
But like, I just know that we're going to look back later in life and they're going to be like, dang, man, mom and dad were always there every morning. That was pretty cool.
All right. I'm going to go a little different direction, literally. I would say just traveling around the world, just all of the really cool places that we've been. We've been to probably, gosh, I don't even know how many countries, several different countries since we started this business. And I don't know that any of it would have been possible without us starting our business and sticking with it journey. And taking the risk. So I met one of my best friends in the world, literally, Kat from Australia. I met her in the Philippines. I always say it sounds like a bad joke. 2 Kentuckians meet an Australian in the Philippines, but it's like a really true story.
Yeah.
So Kat is one of my favorite people. I talk to her most days of the week, every single week. So we got to do that. We've been to Korea. We have been to Jamaica. We've been to the Bahamas. We've been to Mexico several times.
We actually talked about this last weekend. We went to the Grand Canyon for the first time, just like 2 days ago. Yeah. And we were sitting there and we were just kind of enjoying the energy of the place and like the vastness of it. And it didn't even look real. And the Grand Canyon has always been on my bucket list. Like literally, like I want to see like Niagara Falls, Grand Canyon, the Great Pyramids. There's like a couple other things, right? And we've checked those off, man. And like, how many people just consistently get to check off their bucket list? Like it's just not possible unless you're really, earning the income and doing that entrepreneur game. So that's cool. I think the second one for me is definitely not the lifestyle monetarily of the kids, but like they've just had a really unique opportunity to grow up in a very unique way, like to live where we live. We live out in the middle of kind of nowhere, but we have like 40 acres. We have like a lake behind our house. Like it's just a beautiful place to live. And just like even like cheerleading, like our little girl's a cheerleader. For 7 years, we've traveled the country watching her do elite all-star cheerleading. And we would have never been able to do that as school teachers. We wouldn't have been able to go on the trip. There's no way we could have done it. Right. So I think I go back to like just seeing their life and the opportunities they have. They've done things like they've flown more than we ever flew. Our kids know their way around airports. Like they can just take us to the gate get out of the Uber and walk us to the gate. So I think seeing what the kids have accomplished and seeing what they're doing, and just seeing not just the financial resources, but the things you get to do because of the financial resources. I think that would be one of my biggest gratitudes for our online business over the past 10 years.
All right. So, for my second thing that I appreciate since starting our business is the amount of time and space that we've had for both professional and personal development. And I think just trusting each other. I trusted you a lot on the business side when we left 10 years ago, even though I was super scared. I trusted you and went along with you. And I think some on the personal side that you've trusted me and gone along with me on a lot of things that were a little bit scary. So that
Yeah,
would be what I would say.
that's cool. Yeah, and also just the resources to be able to afford all that. Like I did weekly counseling for like months last year, like 2021 or 2022, and like that's expensive, y'all. So just having the resources to attack that mental health game, it's really important. I'm just so grateful that like we truly do live a life where we get to do everything together. Like it's really interesting. It's really unique. Like we went to a retreat recently, and this girl said something that really impacted me. She just said, "You guys are an example of what's possible. Like you're an example of a couple that works together, that figures things out together, that raises kids together, that lets each other have space to grow individually and like heal, like and heals together." And like it just was a really cool to see an example of that. And I'm really proud of like who we are as a couple. Shane and Jocelyn is a cool thing. And it's like we would not have been able to do all this together. Like who knows where our life would be, our healing would be, our marriage would be, our finances would be, anything would be. You know, we were on a walk this morning and we talked about like, you know, what do we have and what are we grateful for? And I was like, well, we probably have 10 times the opportunity and resources right now in front of us from all this stuff we've built together to go forward and do something new. And I'm just really grateful that we get to do life together because you're pretty awesome. So
You're pretty awesome too, babe. Uh,
hey, babe.
I did. Maybe for the first time and last time.
Yeah, let's never do that again. That was terrible. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to wrap us up by saying that I'm super grateful that 10 years into this, I feel like that we're really the same people that we were 10 years ago. We're different in a lot of ways, but we're also the same in a lot of ways, meaning that I don't think that we've ever lost that like humble ability that we have to still reconnect with people who are back where we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then also, I think that we have the ability to continue growing. And that's really exciting for me because we have so much more to learn, and that it's just a really exciting place to be in, just to look forward and know that, we don't have it all figured out. And there's still a lot of places that we can go, a lot of things that we can explore, both professionally and personally.
Just to finish up, I really think our core values have been tested at a number of times. Like our core value of, till death do us part. Like that has been tested a number of times and we have not flinched. And we've had business relationships that tested our core values of what we're going to be as a company and how we're going to serve humans and how we're going to serve people. And, and we did not flinch. We have definitely chosen to take care of our core values first. And even when it's cost us maybe millions of dollars. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really super proud of the decisions that we've made in the last few years, in this year in particular. And I'm also really appreciative that like you guys are still listening to us. I mean, y'all, we're just a couple kids from Kentucky trying to earn our entire living.
Some of you guys have been listening from the beginning.
Oh my gosh,
shout out to you. And thank you.
GFLers out there.
If this is your first show ever, thank you for being here. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, man. So I'm really thankful that we have the platform we have, that we have an audience that we have. And I really feel like, the universe is conspiring for our good. And there's going to be a huge opportunity for us to grow our influence and grow our impact out in the world. All right, guys, that wraps up the 10-year Quitiversary episode of the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. Sometimes lovingly called the Earn and Grow Show. Now we're going to maybe talk about changing some stuff in the future, but not right now. That's the 10-year anniversary episode of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. But make sure you stop. This is not the end today. Go over to healandgrow.com, HEALANDGROW.com. Get on the newsletter list. Jocelyn's going to be sending out a lot of amazing information on how you can heal from trauma, overcome mindset issues, get your mind, your body, your heart, and your spirit all working together so you can accomplish what you can accomplish on this earth. Got lots of great episodes coming. The first episode is dropped right now. As soon as you put your name and email in, we'll take you to the podcast link over at Apple, over at Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to shows. You can also type in Heal and Grow Show, and you should be able to find it as well. I will be back with you again next week for another episode of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. Going to be bringing that call-in show back, baby. I'm going to be helping some other people start, build, and grow online businesses of their own. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you so much for listening. On to the next 10 years. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Make sure you go check out the Heal and Grow Show at healandgrow.com. HELANDGR. Oh God.
HEL.
I said the Hell and Grow Show. Oh jeez, God. Take that out.
What's happening?
All right, guys. Thank you.
Stop spelling it. Okay,
I'm spelling it. I'm getting it right. I thought this was supposed to be easier to spell. Oh.